Do it. Yeah, there you are. Okay. And she will be doing a self-introduction and maybe answer a question or two. After the school board candidates, and we're just doing 2 of the 3 races, then we're going to have a little intermission, and that's when we have our expert panel on different voting methods. Rob Nunley and Brian Kell. Just doesn't get any better than that, does it? And I'll be right here in the middle of it. Yeah, the best we could afford. Yep. All right. Then we'll go, after that little intermission, we'll go to U.S. Senate race. We understand Marquita Bradshaw, who is in the Democratic primary for U.S. Senate, is en route to McMinnville. She does plan to participate. We'll just have to see who shows up from in the Republican primary on Tennessee House District 4. Do we have anybody in the audience? Republican primary, House District 4? Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Should have seen. I should have brought my reading glasses is what I should have done.
I wasn't that close to you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Mr. Davis, we got you in. You're checked in. Okay. Okay. And then we have all 3 candidates in the Republican primary for 43rd District State House. Mr. Sherrill? Anybody else? 43rd District State House? Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Okay. You got to stand up and wave your hand. I could overlook you. Richard, it looks like 30 seconds to go.
Okay, Bill, you getting about ready?
We're set.
All right, stand by.
Good evening and welcome to what we're calling Vote Smart. And if we printed that, there'd be an exclamation mark after the smart. We think that it's a good idea for voters to educate themselves to the fullest possible extent, not only with the current issues in government, but also the candidates, where the candidates stand, what their philosophy is, to share a little bit about themselves personally. So we're back here with the Southern Standard WCPI Candidate Forum and Debate. I want to say thank you to all of our live audience members out here. Good to see you all. And if you're listening on 91.3 or following us on the Southern Standard's Facebook page, or I think Ben Lomand Connect, Ben Lomand TV is offering this on YouTube. And of course, Channel 6, if you want to see it in real time, Community Channel 6, Ben Lomand Connect. So we're doing this as a voter education exercise. We're trying to do our little part as an all-volunteer public radio station, nonprofit, nonpartisan, non-sectarian, plain vanilla radio, right down the middle. We just want to do our part to support democracy. And we think the best thing we can do, the most efficient way we can do that, is to have events like this, a candidate forum and debate, where it costs the candidates nothing but their time and whatever travel expense they have in getting here. It's totally free, no obligation. We send invitations to candidates in contested races. So that means that some people who will be on the ballot are not getting an invitation. Our rule is we're sending invitations to active candidates. It seems like in every election cycle, Susie, you know this, there are people that show up on the ballot, they've got 25 signatures on a qualifying petition, and for whatever reason their name is there, but not what you would call seriously viable candidates. So we're going to get right into the program this evening, but before we do that, certainly want to welcome the viewers on BLTV Channel 6, whether you're watching the Facebook feed from the Southern Standard or YouTube from BLTV, or you're listening on 91.3 WCPI, our public radio station. Welcome to this event. We started this, I think, in the year 2000, and we have done these debates in collaboration with the Southern Standard in every election cycle since then. Now, after we go through the state and federal primaries, which we will be doing August 1st, to avoid confusion, we're doing that in conjunction with the Warren County general election. It's a great way to save money and to save 2 trips for the voters. You do it all at one time. Susie Davenport, and I will say without fear of contradiction, the most effective county election administrator in Tennessee. I believe that's true. I want to compliment Susie and her staff, her deputies in the County Election Commission office. One thing we can count on in Warren County, that elections will be fair, honest, transparent, and done rigorously according to the law. So we appreciate that. Susie's going to be coming on the microphone, and Richard, I think that's candidate desk mic 3. She's going to be talking in just a few minutes, but I also want to introduce another very special guest, Leela Beatty. Leela, so good to have you with us. Leela, pull up to that microphone in front of you, candidate desk mic 2. Richard, have you got Leela? Leela is our Miss Tennessee teen, and she brings great honor and glory to Warren County. Tell us how you got to be Miss Tennessee teen, Leela.
Testing? Okay.
There you go.
So about 2 years ago, I ended up getting into a car accident, as a lot of you know, and I ended up losing the use of my arm. I didn't really find anything that made me feel confident or anything to keep me motivated besides my academics, which is what I've always felt confident in. I found the leading scholarship opportunity for women in America, which is the Miss America pageant system. Through this, I have 4 free years. Unfortunately, at Alabama, but it is 4 free years of college on top of close to $7,000 in interest scholarships. So that's how I got here. I've been in the system for a little over a year, and in January I get to go compete for Miss America in hopes for more scholarship money.
I'd say we're all set for that. Bring home that Miss America crown. You mentioned your academics. What's your favorite subject?
My favorite subjects used to be science, and I'm still kind of a science nerd, but right now is psychology, which my major in college is child psychology.
Okay, that's great. That is excellent. Well, we know that we need more trained professionals in mental health services. And if that's what you're doing, then bless you. We need you in the workforce. So, Leela, good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Let's get Susie. Susie, pull up. Richard, that's candidate desk mic 3, if you'll got that one going for us. Susie very graciously agrees to come out for these forums and give us an update on Tennessee election law. What's new, what's the same, and you've also brought along, you and one of your fine deputies brought along the new style voting machine. Tell us about this new style voting machine, and then give us a little tutorial on voting this time around.
Thank you, Bill, for having me. Thank you, all of you, for being here. As Bill mentioned, back in the back, you see one of our new voting machines. The premise is extremely similar to the ones that you're familiar with using since 2006 in Warren County. The difference in the voting machines is that there is now a voter verifiable paper audit trail. You will often hear us now referring to a VVPAT system. That's what that stands for. Whenever you make your selections on the panel, and I would encourage all of you to please take a few minutes, stop. If you, hopefully you voted in the March election and you've already used these, but if you didn't, take a few minutes sometime when we've got a little lapse and go back there and take a look. Miss Inez has it ready to go to cast a vote on. Sorry, it's not going to be a local election that you're going to be voting on tonight, but you do get to go and play with the machine a little bit. Tennessee has, for the last 3 years, been voted #1 in election integrity by the Heritage Foundation, which is a nationwide organization. We're very proud of that. Warren, yeah. I often tell people that I cannot speak for anywhere except Tennessee and particularly Warren County. But I will tell you that in Warren County, I will never tell you we never make a mistake. I will tell you there's no election fraud going on in Warren County. We have a very good system of checks and balances. I won't go into all of that, but I think most of you who are candidates are very aware of our system. Those of you who are elected officials obviously are. You did help back us in getting these new machines. We went with the voter verifiable paper audit trail system that is very similar to the machines that we had before, but connected with a printer. Yes, there has to be a paper trail. That doesn't mean it has to be a piece of paper that someone can put in their hand. The piece of paper is printed for you to look at to make sure that that's exactly what you selected, that you wanted to vote for. And then when you push that cast button, that's going to roll up into that metal box that is locked, and nobody but my machine technicians and myself are able to open that, and they won't be opened out there at the precincts. That's sealed. Nobody's going to put a piece of paper in there. It's going to be sealed in a bag, in a metal box after it's over. Your votes are secure in Warren County. Can't speak for anywhere else, but I can tell you they are here. As far as new things, we don't have a tremendous lot of new things going on other than the fact that we have to have the paper audit trails in our machines now. But I would like to tell you that there are sample ballots available to you on our website. Our website is, go to the Warren County, Tennessee, warrencountytn.gov website, go to elections. On the right side of that, you'll be able to pull up the complete sample ballot. The sample ballot was also printed in the Southern Standard this past Sunday. So you have options, and if you can't find it anywhere else, come to my office and we'll give you a paper copy. There's also one back there if y'all want to take a look at it. Our current election, early voting is going to start this Friday on the 12th. We will have early voting as we've had the last couple of cycles. We'll have early voting downstairs in the early voting room of the administrative building. That will take place from the 12th to the 27th. We will also have the satellite systems optional again this time, one at Morrison, one at Centertown CIC building. Those will be the last full week of elections, so this time they'll be the 22nd through the 27th. We are open later on Mondays. We don't open until 11 o'clock, and then we are open until 8 on Mondays. So at the satellites as well as downstairs in this building, you'll have that later day that you can, if you have conflicts with work schedules, etc. We're also open on Saturday mornings from 9 until 12. Tuesdays through Fridays will be available from 9 until 6. So I want to encourage you all to come out and early vote. If you don't vote until Election Day, in case you don't know where your precinct is, please give us a call. We're happy to help you out with that information, especially if you have moved since the last time you voted. Are you not sure that you updated since the last time you moved? Please give our office a call. It's 931-473-5834. We'll be happy to look you up, tell you where you're supposed to vote, and save yourself a trip to go to your last precinct, fill out paperwork, and then wind up having to go to the else one. Any questions?
Well, I have a few. Let's see,
Thought you
maybe
might.
somebody in the audience, does anybody in the audience have a question? If you do, speak loudly, I'll repeat it. Does anybody have a question? Okay, I want to ask you this. On the voter verifiable paper trail, as you explained, you'll have this big roll of paper that is actually printed in plain English, the candidate and how that voter marked the ballot. But there's also an electronic record. This is what we've had for quite a few years. There's a data disk. People are familiar with secure data disks, things of that sort. What's the other? The flash
Drives.
Whatever that is.
We actually have a tally card for every voting machine we have. And we read those tally cards into our reader. But we do have still that paper trail behind it now. We've always had a paper trail in those machines, but it was never something that the voters could see. Now, they're where the voters can see them as well.
Okay, we've
had
just made it
backup.
visible. We've made it, transparent. Okay, now, we report, and other media report on election night, what the returns that come in. We emphasize these are official,
Unofficial.
but unofficial, okay, and uncertified. Now, tell us about the certification process, the canvass.
Certification takes place after Election Day. There is a specific date. We have until usually about the 20th of a month after election. We set my election commission sets that date. And we base, when we set that date, kind of on what we expect the turnout to be. After an election's over, my deputies and myself are going to load all that information, all those books that you sign at the precincts, all those applications that you sign early voting. We load all those into your particular voter record. At the end of that time, we need to make sure that we've got exactly as many votes entered into our system as our system voted, as our voting machines voted that night. They're not connected to anything electronic. We have no internet connections to the voting machines. I promise. There is no modem in that machine back there.
Okay, let me ask you this, Susie. People see an electric cord coming out of the voting machine and going into the wall. That's just power.
It's just an electric cord.
Okay, that's all. Not a data. We're not putting data on the internet.
And with the new machines, I'll tell you now, you see a little port on the front of the machine. And at our first time around with these, this last election, we had a couple of folks say, well, right there is where you connect it to the internet. That's where you connect it to the printer.
Okay, okay. So no internet connection.
No internet connections.
And the results are physically brought in because we've done election coverage through many cycles. And we could see these results physically coming in big
Yes.
steel boxes, locked
Yes.
boxes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And Susie, one last question. What is the #1 cause of voter frustration on voting day? I'm kind of thinking maybe they changed their address and they're not registered for their current location. What are you finding is the #1 cause of frustration, if there is any?
I don't think that because we have a good system of dealing with an address correction or whatever, and if you have an address correction, if you come to early voting, that's always the easiest way because you don't have to go to your old precinct or your new one, vice versa. You know, you don't have to do any of that traveling between precincts if you're in the wrong place. We have roads in Warren County that, depending on where you live on that road, you could vote in 4 different precincts. If you go where your neighbor goes because that must be where I'm supposed to vote, you might go to the wrong precinct. Call us first. We'll be happy to tell you which one really you belong in by your address. But that is one thing that could frustrate a voter, especially if they're later in the day getting there, because you do have to vote in the precinct that the address you live at is assigned to.
Well, okay, so if there's any doubt, all you need to know is what your address is.
If you know your address, we'll tell you where you need to go vote.
Susie and her deputies can tell you what precinct and where you go to vote. Susie, thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, one other thing. If you know anyone who needs to request an absentee ballot, the absentee ballot system is not a vote by mail exactly. That's what you hear a lot of. Absentee ballots have to be requested. No one's going to get sent a ballot if it doesn't have a signature to go to. And those ballot requests have to be made by the 25th of July. We have to have time to get that request in, mail that voter the ballot, and have that ballot mailed back to us. So it doesn't go all the way through the end of early voting. It ends on the 25th of July. So if you know someone who needs to request an absentee ballot, maybe they're disabled, maybe a CDL long-haul driver, something like that, who needs to be able to request, get it to us before the 25th. Hopefully they get it to us last week, but by the 25th is the legal date.
Okay. Susie, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming out. And let me mention the machine is set up back in the back of the room, and just feel free, if you're not already familiar with that machine, you can get a little live demonstration.
If you're here tonight and you're not sure your address is updated, Inez has got a notepad back there. If you'll give her your information, we'll check it out. And be sure you give us a phone number. We'll check it out tomorrow, and we'll get back with you and let you know where you're supposed to go vote, if that's how you're registered or not.
Sounds like a good deal. Thank you so much, ladies. Leela, let's go ahead and open up. Yeah, let's set up those name cards. Leela is going to go up here to the urn, clear acrylic so you can see what she's doing. There are 4 cards in there, and sort of stir those around with your hand. They're numbered 1 to 4. We don't have any races, contested races with 4 candidates, so speaking order will be determined by the lowest number. In other words, if you pull number 2, and then somebody else gets number 4. If you got number 2, you'll go first, and then we'll rotate the question. So we'll just put the top on it, and when the candidates come up, we're not quite ready for that. Right now, let's get Beth Woodley, incumbent assessor of property. That'll be our first race, and Mr. Jeff T. McGee, if you are in the audience. Mr. Jeff T. McGee is the Republican nominee and challenger to Beth Woodley Martin, the incumbent, running as an independent. While Ms. Martin's getting comfortable over there at microphone 2, I want to take just a few seconds to thank County Executive Terry Bell, Jason Hillis, the Chief of Staff for the County Executive's Office, and their assistance for getting the room set up this evening. That takes some work, that takes some time, and so just a big shout out to our County Executive's Office. Thank you so much. All right, I don't see Jeff McGee. One last call for Jeff McGee. Okay, no Jeff McGee. So, Ms. Martin, you've got it all to yourself. We're going to do, before you start, we're going to do the little tutorial on the light tower. Seth Wright, managing editor at the Southern Standard, has been our trusty and fiercely accurate and conscientious timekeeper for several of these events. Let's go through the lights. Seth, when the blue light is on, that's neutral time. That'll be, if the moderator is, kind of rearranging something and when he's asking a question. When the green light goes on, that's your time, and we'll announce what your time limit is. Probably what we're going to do is a 3-minute opening statement, maximum 3 minutes. When you got down to 2.5 minutes, the yellow light comes on. When you're out of time, the red light goes on, and you got a little audible signal. How about that? And Richard, if they go way over time, Richard, if they go way over time, that's when we call you in. So that bell, that desk bell that Seth has some history to it. For how many years, Seth, was that at Eastside School?
30 years in 4th grade at Eastside.
Your dad was a teacher in the 4th grade at Eastside Elementary. That bell was there for 30 years, so that bell's got some history behind it, and I think it's earned some respect.
Absolutely.
30 years a teacher at Eastside Elementary, I think that bell's got respect. Okay, with all that said, let's go over to Beth Woodley Martin, and we're going to do a 3-minute self-introduction, and we may have a question or two for you real quickly, but you go ahead and start. Let's start your time now for 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I am Beth Woodley Martin, your incumbent for the assessor of property. I just want to start off and let everyone know I'm a much better assessor than I am public speaker, so please forgive me if I get tongue-tied or read somewhat. Secondly, I want to thank the citizens of Warren County for their vote of confidence and support in the past. And with your vote on August 1st, I will continue my unwavering dedication to this position. A little bit about myself, for those of you who may not know me, I've been married to Lee Martin for 32 years. We have 2 children, Micah and his fiancee, Livia Walker, our daughter, Ashley, and her husband, Jax Price. And Ashley and Jax blessed us with a set of twin grandbabies earlier this February, Mila and Lane. My parents are Alton and Kay Woodley, and my mother-in-law is Carol Martin. I have a brother and sister-in-law, Jeff and Regina Woodley. I am a lifelong member of the Church of Christ, where we attend Arlington Church of Christ. As I stated earlier, I am the incumbent, and I have been the assessor for the past 12 years. I worked for the previous administration for 5.5 years, which gives me a total of 17.5 years of experience in the office. I am running this election on my experience, integrity, honesty, and dedication to fair and equitable appraisals. These qualities are the driving force behind my accomplishments thus far, and they will continue to guide me as I strive to do the best job possible for the citizens of Warren County. I would appreciate your vote of continued confidence and support in the upcoming August 1st general election. With early voting, as Susie said, will be starting this Friday, July 12th, and running through July 27th. Thank you.
Okay, Beth, thank you very much. Beth, I have one question. Does anybody in the audience, we have a little bit of breathing room as far as our schedule. Does anybody have a question? I don't see any hands raised. I've got a question, Beth. At a very basic level, you simply do the property assessments, and of course that determines the actual tax paid, but you don't set the rate. The rate per $100 assessed valuation, you don't do that. You have no control over that. Is that right?
Well, I actually appraise the property.
You appraise the property, but the actual tax rate.
The tax rate, I do not set that. That is set by your county commissioners and your city aldermen.
Okay. Okay. I just for the sake of clarity, and I'm just kind of maybe assuming, maybe I shouldn't assume, but sometimes you have some taxpayers that come down from the trustee's office and say that, you know, the assessment is wrong or something. But you really, when it comes to the tax they pay, the rate, you have no control over that. No assessor does.
That's absolutely correct. It's based upon what your county commissioners decide that they need for their budget. what we give to the commission is an assessment amount that they can base the tax rate on. And depending upon if they need more money, then they would be the ones that would raise the tax rate.
Okay, so you give them an aggregate
Yes.
tax base.
That is
This is
correct.
what you have to work with
That is correct.
when you're talking to the county commission.
Yes.
Okay, Beth Woodley Martin, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. If you ever have any questions, my office is open all the time, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Martin. David Plazas has arrived. Good to see you, David.
Hey, thank you so much, Bill. I'm so sorry to be late. Tennessee traffic, as you know, these days. But I so appreciate coming from Nashville to see you all. And this is my 6th visit to McMinnville in the last 6 years. So I'm delighted to be a part of this conversation again.
That's great. Richard, this is microphone, that's total microphone 6 on the PA. Okay, have you got David's microphone? Okay. Okay, yeah, you had traffic issues.
We did, but it's just delightful to be here. I was here a couple weeks ago for the Rotary Club. Thank you to the Southern Standard for reporting on that. Absolutely delighted to be here. Had the chance to see Governor Bill Lee speak at the Nashville Rotary Club today, so a lot of thoughts have come into my head about questions to ask about education and other topics.
Okay, and this is one of the great virtues of having David Plazas. David is the Opinion and Engagement Director for the USA Today Network in Tennessee. He writes editorials and columns, edits guest essays, and leads opinion strategy for the Tennessean in Nashville, the Commercial Appeal in Memphis, and the News Sentinel in Knoxville, part of the Gannett family of newspapers. And in my generation, of course, we grew up with the print newspaper. I came along long before the internet. David, the major newspapers and community newspapers like the Southern Standard have a very active online presence. Industry-wide, what percentage of your readers or your subscribers still getting print only compared to the number of online readers?
So we have about 6 million unique visitors every single month, and probably only about 27,000 of them still do print. Most people are digital readers. Either they get the e-newspaper or they have on their mobile website or the desktop, for example. But our consumers, much like the rest of America, have gone digital, be it streaming or other ways to get it in a way that's immediate.
Yeah. My newspaper subscriptions, with just very few exceptions, are all online. And I've got to tell you, David, I am happy not to have the clutter, the accumulation of newspapers in my office. So that's certainly a way of eliminating that. And of course, if your online service has a good search engine, you can put in a search term and don't have to remember where you put that newspaper, where you want to go back and refer to something. It'll bring it right up.
Absolutely. One of the things that I'm also happy to be on, I'm on the board of the Tennessee Press Association, so we represent the newspapers across the state of Tennessee, large, small, medium-sized, and we're just so appreciative to be able to travel through the state. It's such a beautiful, beautiful state to be able to talk to the different people in the community about issues ranging from sports to breaking news to the big important business stories of the day.
Okay, David, we're going to get ready to go over to the school board races, and now that you're here and you've got some questions for school board candidates, this is that part of the program, ladies and gentlemen, where it's, I don't know whether the word awkward is exactly right, but I'm going to have to leave the neutral territory over here with David and go across the middle ground here. Mr. Jarvis Johnson and I are both candidates for 2nd District Warren County School Board. So we're going to be having a little colloquy. We're going to start off with brief opening statements, and we're going to draw for position. And Officer Johnson, let me get over there, and you draw first if you like, and then I'll draw second, and that will determine the speaking position. We're going to take 3 minutes for an opening statement or a statement of philosophy or campaign platform or whatever you want to say, and then Mr. Plazas is going to have some questions for us. I have not seen the questions. And I told Mr. Plazas I did not want to see the questions, just to assure integrity in this process. So I have no idea what he's going to be asking. You ask Officer Johnson the hard questions, save the easy ones for me if you would, and we'll be happy. Everybody will be happy except Jarvis. So we'll do it that way. David was one of the jurors for the very prestigious Pulitzer Prize, really the Nobel Prize in journalism, the Pulitzer Prizes for a couple of years. He's won a number of first-place awards from the Tennessee Press Association for his editorial writing. And one of the things that I think another great virtue of having David in our community is that he was, I guess it's fair to say, the founding genius of an initiative called Civility Tennessee. So give us a 30-second description of Civility Tennessee, David.
Yeah, Civility Tennessee started in 2017 as a way to encourage, model, and promote civil discourse. And it's great to hear more and more people in elective office in the community talk about how can we disagree better, how can we have better conversations. I was delighted to hear Governor Lee today talk about an initiative that's happening with the National Governors Association, started by his colleague Spencer Cox, a Republican from Utah, called Disagree Better. And so this initiative that we've been doing, we actually launched our Out of Nashville events in McMinnville. So I really have quite an affection for this community, precisely because I see such a strong civil and civic leadership group over here. So it is about essentially finding ways for us to solve our problems. And sometimes they're really hard ways. Sometimes they're hard conversations, but they're important conversations to have.
Okay, thank you, David. This is Marquita, right? Good to see you. Good to see you, Marquita Bradshaw. Just have a seat out here somewhere. We've got you in the second half of the program. Marquita made the mad dash from all the way from Memphis to get here. So we appreciate you coming in, and we'll have Ms. Bradshaw later in the program. She is a Democrat, a candidate in the Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate. So, Richard, we're going to be on candidate mics. Let's make it 1 and 3, if you would. And Officer Johnson, let you and I go over there and draw for speaking order. And you can cancel this mic if you like, Richard. Make sure that David's mic is on and got plenty of power. So, David, if you'll excuse me, we've got so many mic cables here. And it would be really awkward if I got tripped up in mic cables. Okay. Okay, Jarvis. Pull number. Okay. And I'll pull a number. Okay. I got number 2. You got 4. So, I guess that means I go first. Okay. Why don't we put you right here, Jarvis, and I'll take a seat down here. And let's do a microphone check, make sure we have power. Richard, have you got this one? Candidate mic 1, okay, and Jarvis's mic is 3.
Test 1.
Okay. You got good sound out there in the audience? Okay, looks good. Okay, 3-minute self-introduction, Seth, and you can start my time. I'll start whenever you got the green light. Okay, well, thank you very much. This is the first time I've been on this side of the room since we've been doing these candidate forums since the year 2000. So it's been around for a while. It's sort of a new experience for me, but I am Bill Zeckman. I'm running for re-election to the Warren County School Board, officially the Board of School Commissioners. I am truly a local product. I was born in the old McMinnville Medical Clinic. Not many people here will remember that, but it's the yellow brick building on West Main Street next to First Presbyterian Church. And you remember that building. There are a few people who do. Quite a few people in my age cohort were born there. My parents were the late George and Marie Zeckman, and I'll just say this and put it on record right now. I was extremely blessed, and I praise and thank the Lord that I had the blessing of growing up in a loving, nurturing family that taught me and my two older siblings, both of whom have passed away, taught us the ideas of personal virtue and civic obligation. My late father was involved in local politics and held office, several offices. And actually, when I was just a little kid, I got to fold some campaign promotion letters and stuff envelopes. I thought that was exciting for a little kid, and did some work. As a matter of fact, David, there was an article in the Tennessean. The local Tennessean correspondent at the time did a little article that I got paid a milkshake for a day's worth of work on my father's campaign. So my compensation was a milkshake. I think probably a good way to start is to answer the question, which is a reasonable question, well, why are you running for election, or why are you running for re-election? I have the conviction that public education is one of the most revolutionary, most important, most potent inventions of mankind. When we say public education, we're talking about an education system that invites all students, regardless of your background, regardless of your family name, regardless of your street address, regardless of your family's socio-economic condition, regardless of any physical disabilities you might have. We invite you to come in, and we're going to do our best to serve you. So that's why I believe in public education very strongly. I'm out of time. I don't want you to sound that air raid alarm over there, Richard. I'm out of time.
Very well. Thank you so much, Bill.
Okay, and let's go ahead and let Officer Johnson do his opening statement, and then throw the questions out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and you'll give him 30 seconds. Okay? No, he gets 3 minutes. 3 minutes. He started your time now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jarvis Johnson. Some of you know me as Officer Jarvis. I'm also a minister here in Warren County. Some of you may recognize me as the voice of the Servants radio broadcast. I'm thankful for everyone being here today, for elections are very important. I have been blessed to serve this community for the last 24 years in law enforcement. More specifically, I am a school resource officer, which gives me a unique perspective. I work every day in the school systems. I want to share with you what I feel is most important. School safety should be our #1 priority. No parent should ever have to worry about sending their kids to school. I'm also against radical spending. I feel that parents should have some say in their students' educational process. I believe in supporting our teachers, and this is something that often gets overlooked. We need to listen to the kids. The kids know more about what's happening in the school systems than anyone else. I'm in the schools every single day. I build connections with the kids. All the kids know me by name. If something's happened in that school, they can trust me and come to me about that. We're blessed in Warren County to have businessmen, former educators, and also community leaders that serve on our board. What we do not have, however, is someone that specializes in school safety. I am that person. As I said before, I am the only candidate that works every single day in the school system. I want to be very clear. I work for the Warren County Sheriff Department. I do not work for the school system. I am not paid by the school system, and nothing that they vote on benefits me financially. I am also running because I'm very concerned about the numbers here in Warren County. If you do a quick search on the state website, you'll see that Warren County is 20 districts away from being in last place. There is 139 school districts in Warren County. We sit at 119. This is concerning. Our average score is 0.367. We need to work together to improve that. We don't need to blame teachers. We don't need to blame someone on one side of the aisle or on the other side of the aisle. What we need to do is all take responsibility and work together so that we can make our schools safe and that we can improve our test scores. Every county around us is better in their test or in their scoring and ranking system than we are. We've got to work together. If you want a safer school, if you want transparency, if you believe in accountability, vote for Jarvis Johnson, District 2 School Board.
Okay. Seth, his 3 minutes were a lot longer than my 3 minutes. No, we're good with that. I think David has some questions, and you got to choose which order you want to do the questions.
Sure. Why don't we start with Officer Johnson first and then go to Mr. Zeckman. As I mentioned to the audience, I saw Governor Lee speak at the Rotary Club in Nashville today, and he talked about his education savings account program, which didn't pass this year. It was the expansion across the state. And I wanted to ask you, what was your opinion of this program? Do you think it should be expanded into counties like Warren County? And what are your thoughts and observations about this program? Officer Johnson, please.
Could you repeat that first part again? I didn't hear you.
Sure. What is your opinion about the expansion of the voucher program throughout Tennessee?
Personally, I feel like if a family is able to send their kid to a private school, then that's well and good. If we open up that the state will fund every student to go where they want, then there will be very little difference between our private schools and our public schools. I understand that that might be an opposition to a Republican that leads our state, but I feel like the way it is right now, that the money should go to the public schools, and if a family is able to send their child to a private school, that's the way it should remain. Thank you, sir. What is your opinion, Mr. Zeckman, of the school voucher expansion?
Okay, David, we're talking about what the governor calls the education freedom account. It's the kind of a elaborate name for a voucher system. His proposal would give a little over $7,000 per child each year. In the first year, his proposal was to fund 20,000 of these $7,000 scholarships. In the second year, which would be the 25-26 year, then it would be wide open for the whole state. Anybody could apply. Half of those 20,000 would go to families that are at or under 300% of the federal poverty rate. So 10,000 are reserved for those. The other 10,000 would be kind of up for grabs for those who applied, and that's in the first year. I am not an enemy of private education. Private education certainly has its role. And I would agree with Officer Johnson that if a family has the means and makes that choice, more power to them. That's great. My issue is this could be the first step, the overture, to diverting more and more limited federal money into the private education system. Now, a lot of the schools here in McMinnville, we have private church-related schools. They're operated as nonprofit organizations. What happens when the education privatizers, the profiteers, get in? I say it's the Willie Sutton theory of education privatization. William Francis Sutton, probably the most prolific and colorful bank robber in the 1920s and 30s. He was in and out of prison, escaped 3 times, but one time an enterprising young reporter at a newspaper, I don't know, it wasn't the Tennessean, I'll say that, David, got the warden to grant an interview with Willie Sutton, and this reporter thought he would ask a really deep, probing psychological question like, what was it in your childhood that makes you want to rob banks? So he asked, Mr. Sutton, why do you rob banks? And he said, that's where the money is. We're spending about $800 billion a year in this country on education, K-12 education. The corporate interests, the private interests, who will have a presence in this, they're already funding much of this move toward vouchers. That's where the money is. That's where they're going. So there are ideological reasons for supporting the voucher system, but there are also
Thank you very
financial
much.
reasons. Okay, thank you.
Next question is about teacher retention and recruitment. This is an issue across the country. Many teachers, after their 5th year, leave the school system, particularly urban school systems. What are your ideas for trying to retain and recruit teachers, especially at a time where there's been so much stress for them post-COVID? And we'll start with Mr. Zeckman and then go to Officer Johnson.
Well, if we paid teachers in proportion to their value to society, how would they stack up against professional athletes, the big name, the marquee athletes? How would they stack up against the musicians, the entertainers, the singers? How would they stack up toward those big names? I would challenge you to find how, and you know, and I like sports, we all do. And if professional athletes can make millions and millions of dollars a year, more power to them. But what do they really contribute to society? What do they contribute to serving your son or your daughter, your grandson, your granddaughter in their efforts to become educated and realize their fullest potential? What do they contribute? Well, the answer is really nothing. I submit that there's no more important vocation, profession in this country or in the world than our teachers. I say this with all due respect to the medical professionals. I love them. You know, they keep us healthy, well, and alive. To the emergency medical technicians, the paramedics, all these people, law enforcement people, they're essential. We have to have them. They protect us from the bad guys. But who contributes more to building up society than the teachers? So if we paid teachers according to their value to society, we'd be paying a whole lot more than we have been paying. And I think it's almost disgraceful that we have really artificially repressed teacher pay, teacher compensation. I know from personal acquaintance that teachers are not doing it for the money because, as Mr. Plaza said, at the end of 5 years, as a matter of fact, at the end of 3 years, look at the attrition rate after 3 years in the classroom. They're out in a different profession. They're doing something different. So I say bless those teachers. We have some teachers that have been in the system 30 years. Some have gone past that. I think about Miss Betty up at Irving College, Mr. Caldwell, some people that, and others in that category. They do it because they love the children. Teachers do it because they have a sense of their value to society. They're not doing it for the money. My suggestion is, if you really want to show honor and respect for teachers, we need to get serious about paying. I salute Governor Lee and the legislature. They did take action in the most recent legislature to increase teacher pay. I salute them. I thank them. But we're barely making up for lost time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zeckman. Officer Johnson, what is your opinion? What can be done to better recruit and retain teachers?
I almost feel a little biased answering this because my wife of 26 years works for the State Board of Education. So with agreeing with Bill, which I do, I'm also agreeing to give my wife a raise. But I see the work that she does. She's got her master's degree, and I remember when she was in the classroom, all the time that she put in. Many people get the misconception that teachers only work 180 days a year and then they have all summer off. That is simply not true. They work in the evenings, they work early in the mornings, they work through their breaks. Many of them work while they eat, and they work during the summer. All they're doing is to make the most sacrifices possible so that our students have the best education, and often, way too often, society thinks that their job is overpaid. I think they need to be paid more. They need to be respected more. One of the reasons why I'm running is the teachers, I interact with them every day. They need someone that they see every day in the hallways, in the classrooms, that they can talk to represent them at the board level. I am that person. I see them every day. I want to work with the teachers. I want to work with our community. I want to work with the state to see that we get our teachers the most money possible, because no other profession deserves more than our teachers.
I would agree with that.
Thank you very much. This next question goes to something, Officer Johnson, that you said before, which is the ranking of where the county is. So a lot of learning loss happened over the last few years particularly because of the pandemic, shutdowns and so forth. It's been a long time for school children in Tennessee and across the country to start improving on those test scores. What do you think you can do to help improve those test scores and that ranking for Warren County?
Just a quick review from the state website. Manchester City Schools rank 45. DeKalb County ranks 91st. Coffee County 91st. DeKalb County is 94. Grundy is 102. Warren County is 119. As I said earlier, we're at the lower end. We're 20 points away from being the lowest school district. We're going to have to reach out to these other school districts that are being more successful and see what they're doing and try to mimic that and even improve upon that. I believe we need to work with not just Warren County people, but people around us that are being successful. This is not just one person. This is everyone taking responsibility. Parents, teachers, administrators, the school board, everyone in the community needs to come together to improve these numbers. That should be one of our top priorities. First and foremost, the school safety, and then we need to get our numbers up. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Zeckman, related to school improvement and test scores.
Which is, I want to say I agree with Officer Johnson that student safety and well-being, total welfare, are probably the paramount issue, but very close after that is making sure that they have the very best opportunity right here in Warren County to get a competitive education. You probably noticed, I think in Sunday's edition, yesterday's edition, or it might have been the Friday edition of the Southern Standard, Dr. Swallows, Grant Swallows, the director of schools, announced some personnel changes. You'll probably see more of these personnel changes going on. He is trying to put the people with the relevant talents in the right places. We know we have work to do. We're not denying that. The first step in the road to improvement is to admit that you need improvement, and we're saying we do. But I think the teachers, the instructional coordinators, the principals, everybody who's had a hand, I think when you look at our scores next year, in this upcoming school year, when the numbers are in, you're going to see some marked improvements. We're already seeing improvement because we're bringing things together, applying best practices that we learn with evidence-based approaches to teaching and learning. We are working in this, yes, we'll admit we've got a long road to improvement, but I suggest that we are on that road. And I think that if we stay the course, we're going to see dramatic improvement across the board in Warren County K-12 education.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for one more question.
Sure.
Right? Okay. So the next question, I've seen the numbers recently about the first of the ebbs and flows of going to college or technical school. We just had a report that went across the state. The Tennessean also reported on it related to school attendance and enrollment. And I want to ask you your opinion of that connection, because there's a lot of talk about connecting K through 12 outcomes with ultimate job outcomes. Will the person be successful after they graduate from K through 12? What more do you think needs to be done to address those issues and to ensure not just that students enroll, but that they complete their technical degree or their bachelor's degree? Why don't we go Mr. Zeckman and then Officer Johnson?
You're right on target, David. Let's measure completion. Just getting enrolled, that's good. That's the first step. But let's measure completion. The other thing we need to measure is, do you find a job, and hopefully a personally rewarding, fulfilling, satisfying job in the area in which you specialized in your academic or vocational training? Tennessee is fortunate. Here again, a lot of things in Tennessee need improvement, but we have a first-class system of vocational technical education for those who are not on the traditional four-year university track. Bless those who are. That's great. There's certainly a place for the university graduates and those that do graduate studies, but also a fulfilling, rewarding job where Tennessee young people can become self-sufficient, responsible economic factors in our economy and take their role in society. We want to have students and graduates who not only have mastered their subject, but also are trained as citizens, who have a sense of civic responsibility of giving back to their community. It's all a package. If we're going to have a strong future as an American democracy and this republic.
Thank you. Officer Johnson, again, the question is about what more can be done to help success for students once they get out of K through 12 to complete their training and to have a good job.
I think first and foremost, we got to find what the kids are passionate about. We need to understand that child and see what they find most interesting, whether that be something they can learn in college or something they can learn at the vocational level. Once we find what they're passionate about, they're going to love learning. I know in school, I, like Miss Tennessee, loved science. I never had to study for science, and I made straight A's. However, I did have to study for math. I do not like math. But once we find what people are passionate about, then they're going to be more willing to complete a course that's in that subject. We need to start at the lowest level from kindergarten up and find out what they are most passionate about and try to nurture that passion and send them in that direction if that's what they choose to do.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Let's give a round of applause
Well,
for our
thank
candidate.
you. Thank you very much. Jarvis, we had a good discussion. Good discussion. Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm still here at the candidate's desk. I'm going to make my way across the neutral zone here. We do have to do the mandatory FCC required station identification. This is 91.3 FM WCPI in McMinnville. And we're also coming to you by way of BLTV, the Southern Standards Facebook and YouTube, so glad to have you all with us. David Plazas is our moderator this evening. I want to thank him. Right now we're 9 minutes behind schedule, but we're good because we're going to make up for it in the second half. Let's have Mr. Caldwell, Tommy Caldwell, who's running unopposed for re-election to the school board in District 6, School Board District 6. The other candidate who is running unopposed, political newcomer as far as I know, said that he had a son who was feeling a little bit under the weather this morning, and he thought he needed to stay home with him, so he won't be here. But we've invited Mr. Caldwell to come up, even though he doesn't have opposition in the election. He deserves some time with the voters. So come on up, Mr. Caldwell. And Richard, we're going to put him on, I think that's candidate mic 3. Okay, Mr. Caldwell.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Zeckman. Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the Southern Standard, Ben Lomand Connect, and WCPI 91.3 for hosting this political forum. It's a great opportunity for the voters to hear from straight from the candidates. My name is Tommy Caldwell, and I'm currently the 6th District School Board representative running unopposed. I am the son of Deborah and the late Danny Caldwell of the Deborah community. I am married to Aaron Holland Caldwell. We have 3 children, Annabella, who will be a senior this year, Trigg, 8th grader, and Jeb, a 3rd grader, who all attend Warren County schools. Born and raised in the Deborah community my entire life, it's a place I love to call home. I am a 4th generation self-employed nurseryman, born again Christian, deacon, and a member of Charles Creek Baptist Church. When the Lord burdened me to run 4.5 years ago, it wasn't because I had an axe to grind with my predecessor. In fact, I consider Teddy Jones and his family a great friend of mine. And neither was I endorsed by any political party. I only wanted to be a voice in hopes of making a difference for every student, teacher, and employee of the Warren County school system. It's been an honor and a privilege to have been able to work alongside a board and director that sees the importance of public education. With the help of TISA, the Tennessee Investment for Student Achievement, and our state lawmakers and governor, I am proud to have awarded our employees a much-deserved raise without having to be a burden and ask the county for any extra money. I am proud of the hard work our administration, teachers, support staff, nutrition, custodial, maintenance, and bus drivers sacrifice each and every day on behalf of our 6,000 students. Is there more work to be done? I think you've heard. Absolutely, we do have more work to be done. Am I happy with where we're at? No, but I do believe with the test scores that are coming out, we're certainly heading in the right direction. Am I happy to see my own children, along with every child in public education, to be victimized by political nonsense? Not at all. If I've learned anything in the last 4 years of being on the board, it's that overstepping of politics can be very harmful and detrimental to public education. I've seen national organizations and so-called scientists who told us to follow the science when all along we should have been following the money. Telling our students we had to remain virtual when we know that students was the least prone to the virus, they needed to be in school. I've had to observe politicians and a governor force a third-grade retention law on our students with a goal of raising test scores and getting our students proficient in ELA. Unfortunately, I'm afraid anxiety amongst our students, teachers, and parents is rising faster than our test scores. I'll be the first to say we welcome accountability and we always strive for higher expectations for all students. But one test score taken on a single day in April isn't the answer, especially when we're benchmarked tests in the fall, winter, and spring.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Since you're here, is it possible to ask a couple questions?
Sure. Go ahead.
No, I'd love to hear about the third grade retention law. That's something that's been controversial across the entire state of Tennessee. Could you talk a little bit further about your perspective in the third grade law, what it's done? I know there's been some changes about tutoring and so forth, but from your perspective as a parent and a school board member, what has been the good or the bad that you see from this particular law?
You know, I think the reason behind it, David, you know, you can't argue with that. We all want higher expectations. We all want to see our students achieve. But why can't we not do more teaching and less testing? This is real simple. This is a three-part scenario right here. You have benchmark testing in August. You have benchmark testing in the winter. After Christmas break, you have benchmark testing in April. Why can't we take our benchmark scores along with our report cards and our TCAP scores and combine those and see whether we've got achievement or not? You're going to know by December if that student is seeing achievement and if their scores are rising. You don't have to wait to take that TCAP test in one day in April to determine if my child, who is actually, I have a rising third grader, he's already worried about taking that test in April. That's unnecessary stress and burden on parents and students and teachers. That test scores, our teachers are evaluated on that test score. Why is our teachers put under that kind of pressure when they're already underpaid and overworked? We've done heard about that from the other two candidates.
Thank you.
Let our teachers teach.
Yep. Okay, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, too, a question that I asked the other candidates related to the Education Freedom Act. It didn't pass this year in the legislature. What is your opinion of the legislation, and would you change anything about it? Do you support it or oppose it?
I'm one of about 400 certified licensed nursery here in Warren County. We're known for the nurseries. You know, accountability and competition, I'm not afraid of, but let's be equal. I'm looking for being equal about it. If my child has to take the third grade TCAP and there's a possibility of being retained, if you take that money and those local tax dollars and go to a private school or a charter school, put us all on the same playing field. It's real simple, you know. And with that competition, it could be better for Warren County schools. You know, I feel like the bar is already set high. We have work to do to get to that bar. We're not shying away from that. But I'm not afraid of competition, but I just don't think our lawmakers, governors, are wanting to be fair about this. I've even talked to Representative Sherrill about this. He's expressed to me his opposition to it.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much. Tommy Colwell, thank you. Mr. Colwell is a candidate for re-election in the 6th School Board District. Here again, that's August 1st. We're combining our Warren County general election with the party primaries for the state and federal offices. Let's get Brian, Kell, and Rob Nunley over here, and David, we're going to give you a little break because we're going to put them out here, and but keep all of your notes there because we're going to be back. We're going to take that's our problem with having so many mic cables around here. But that's okay. They're pretty rugged microphones. Not a problem. Okay, we've asked Rob Nunley, who is news editor at the Southern Standard, and Brian Kell, who is marketing director for Ben Lomand Connect, to come over and talk to us a little bit about different voting methods. We've had pretty much a conventional voting method here in the United States and in Tennessee, but there are some other approaches. So, gentlemen, while we're covering for intermission here, what are your thoughts on different methods? For instance, ranked choice. Right.
Ranked choice. Okay, first of all, Bill, thanks for having us on here. Rob and I are not used to, this kind of formality.
Most of the time when we talk on the radio, it was about a football game.
That's very true.
That was a much more foregone conclusion usually than any of these campaigns.
Yes, exactly. But the fact is that Rob and I have been talking politics for the better, probably 30 years of our 52 that we've been around, something along those lines. So you kind of threw some stuff at us, and you just brought up ranked choice. And so when Rob and I were discussing this today, I'd never heard of this before. And so I go, man, this is kind of a caucus without physically moving people around in a lot of respects. And so I thought this was really interesting. And if folks don't know what this is, basically you, in some cases, could write down if there's 4 candidates, you can rank your candidates 1 through 4. And if nobody gets a majority, Bill, you can step in and correct if we miss any of this because you're the expert on this. But if no one gets a majority and you've got 4 candidates running, then you take your least vote getter, candidate number 4, let's just say, and you start moving into the second place choice, I guess, for those particular voters. And you continue to kind of, I guess, move voters until you reach a winner, until you reach somebody that hits a majority. When Rob and I were talking about this, Rob loved this. Rob absolutely loved this.
So we can have a real debate.
No,
right?
I think that we're both, we both have talked a lot over the years as far as when it comes down to just caucus in general. So I think when you talk about this, Rob, you can't help but kind of also discuss, I guess, the caucus way of thinking when it comes down to voting.
I agree with you somewhat, but the idea of ranking people, I'm getting a lot of feedback. The idea of ranking everyone in a race, to me, seems to, I understand that the thought process behind this is it might help avoid controversial election results like we've seen or alleged to have seen in the past. But to me, I don't see how this wouldn't do anything except make things worse. This reminds me of the way they pick the #1 team in college football, not how you pick the next governor of the state.
Right.
Because people are already trying to claim, and thank goodness we're blessed to have Susie and my mother, by the way.
Absolutely. The best Nunley in the room, Inez Nunley, here with us tonight.
It as one of the greatest county election commissions in a state that's been ranked
if
among
not
the tops
the nation.
in the nation.
Right.
And I am biased. But we hear talk about what can you do to, people come in and they claim, oh, well, I voted for candidate A, but the machine said I voted for candidate B. Well, this would only add, well, I put candidate C down as my number 3 vote. And it
adds some layers,
number 2.
potential layers.
It just adds more potential for confusion and at least accusations of misdeeds.
You've said it best today in that, let's just deal at lunch today, and can we not just deal with this system that is one vote for one person, and that's who I'm backing, and be done with it, right?
One man, one vote has worked for almost 275 years or 225 years. Why can't that still work? The only things that have changed are the technology. It's clear. Ms. Davenport made it clear that technology cannot be hacked, despite what some people would have you say. If it could be tampered with at all, it would be the greatest heist in the history of all things, especially all things election related. I understand people want to come up with a new system because they think it'll work better. This is not the one.
Okay, but I will say, Bill, if you want something that we've kind of maybe not disagree with, but we've got different opinions on, it's closed versus open primaries. Is that not right, Rob? We've kind of taken a couple of different points on this. Give me what you like about an open primary.
What I like about an open primary is I'm given the freedom in this country to change my mind, in my opinion, and vote for any candidate I choose to vote for.
Regardless of
regardless of their party affiliation.
Right.
Regardless of how I voted in the last 5 election cycles. Regardless of any of that, if I prefer a Republican candidate for House of Representatives in this election, and I want to go vote for him over the other Republican candidates in that primary, I don't think it's the right of the state or the election commissioner or anyone else to sit back and say, oh, sorry, you voted Democrat for the last 5 years, so you can't do that. No, that takes away a God and founding father given right.
So, okay, and I do understand that, but then as I threw to you this afternoon, on the flip side of that, you talked about how somebody you'd love to support. It also gives you the option to go, I can't stand that person over there, and even though I vote Republican and that person's running for a Democratic primary, I want to vote against that person over there. Is it truly a primary if you allow folks to be able to go in and go, I don't like somebody over there in that other party, so I'm going to go vote in that other party's primary?
There were accusations of that years ago in a local race here in town. There were accusations of people going in and voting in the Republican primary.
Crossover voting.
Yes, crossover voting. Thank you for labeling it correctly, because I wouldn't have come up with that.
Right.
But there were accusations of that. Oh, people were going in and they're voting in the X primary, and they're voting for this candidate because they think their real guy will beat that. Personally, the guy I went and crossover voted for got beat, so it didn't work for me.
Yeah. But I guess when you label something a party primary, is it truly a party primary when you've got an ability to allow folks that don't typically vote or support in that particular party to vote in that primary? And that's the only thing I'm getting at.
I
is that
understand what you're getting at, but isn't that why so many people now have gone to this caucus system, which we never had on the local level, to my knowledge, before this election cycle?
Correct. Right. That we've never delved into that.
This is new. This is new in Warren County. But I'll tell you what. I wish we had more time. But we got to get on with our next event.
Well, let's go to lunch and we'll talk about.
Well, we'll go to lunch. We'll take the microphones and the transmitter and we'll go to lunch. Okay.
Just don't take that alarm.
The bell. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Brian. Rob, thank you very much. Rob Nunley, news editor at the Southern Standard. Brian Kell, marketing director at Ben Lomand Connect. Thank you so much. We're going to step up to the next event, and we're going to change the order just a little bit. Marquita Bradshaw drove all the way from Memphis. Let's go ahead and get Marquita over here. Marquita is a candidate in the Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate. Gloria Johnson is, we shall say, the other active candidate. Do you have a Marquita? Yeah, let's put Marquita's nameplate up over there, Seth. And we'll just put you in that middle microphone, Marquita. But we don't have Gloria Johnson here, so the other active candidate. So we're going to go ahead and do a self-introduction, take 3 minutes. Talk to us about yourself and why you should get the votes in the Democratic primary for U.S. Senate. Marquita Bradshaw.
Hello, my name is Marquita Bradshaw. I grew up in Memphis. It was a thriving community. We had everything in walking distance, from a grocery store. I could even see a drive-in movie theater from in front of my yard. However, something changed. The manufacturing jobs left, and our community was deemed polluted, and not polluted just by anyone. It was a military landfill. So a lot of people that I love and care for started getting sick and dying. My mom is one of those. And the reason why I'm running is because I know what it means to be marginalized and left out, and I don't think anyone should feel that way when it comes to federal policy, because it's supposed to include all of us. And if we work hard together, we can actually have common sense policies that reflect environmental justice principles, which really is common sense policies that focuses on healthy and safe communities where people live, learn, work, worship, and recreate. And you can go to my website, marquitabradshaw.com, to learn more about what those policies look like. Thank you.
Okay, you have a few seconds left, but we can go to questions. I think Mr. Plazas has a couple of questions for you, Marquita.
Ms. Bradshaw, it's good to see you again. I had a chance to interview a few years ago when you ran in 2020 for the U.S. Senate. I appreciate you being back here, and public service is a very difficult and challenging pursuit, so anyone who runs, I really have a lot of admiration for them. So this first question is, when confronting a national issue, what do you keep in mind as you relate your decision-making process to the feelings of your constituents?
First of all, we have people that are career politicians that don't listen to their constituents. I've been working on policy for over 30 years. I'm 50 years old. And especially when it comes to environment, infrastructure, and different things like that. When you have a U.S. Senator, they're supposed to be available to you when you go to Washington, D.C. First of all, it's a long way to get there, and people have day jobs. And if I want to come talk to you about clean air, clean water, or clean soil, or even about why our infrastructure need improving because we got brown tap water coming out the tap in East Tennessee, you should take a meeting or even make your staff available. And so that has not happened. And so career politicians are dangerous to society, and they don't listen to people. And I'm a person that I started by listening first. Even in the 2020 election and even now, I started with a survey so people can actually tell me what's most important to them when it comes to federal policy. And I informed that platform on my website, marquitabradshaw.com, of Tennessee Voices. And that's what sets me apart.
Thank you. Next question is, if you win the Democratic nomination, you would be facing presumably Senator Marsha Blackburn. There are 4 women in the Democratic primary at this moment, and if you do win, what are the things that distinguish you from Senator Blackburn? What are the things that you would like people to know that you're different from, that you want to stand out from?
So I said I've been working on policy for 30 years, and the type of policy that I work on actually brings people together because it focuses on common sense things that we all agree upon. We know we need our educational system to work for our children. We know we need an economy that works for working people. And we know we just need an environment to live, right? You can't just live off dirty air. That's not going to be no good. It really affects public health. And so if you focus on the things that we are most important to all of us, then we can move together and we can work through the things that we disagree upon. And so that sets me apart. Marsha Blackburn was not at the table when it was time to negotiate infrastructure, right? But she was there for that photo op when the bridges and roads started getting built. And that's not accountability. You don't take credit for stuff you don't do. And it was some things that she could have fought for at the table to make sure Tennessee get all the dollars that they need. We have water delivery system that needs to change. We have places that are flooding. We have resilience issues where our communities are not able to deal with extreme weather patterns right now. It's hot as Hades outside, right? And those utility bills are going up. And we need to move to technologies where it makes our energy burden cost less from our paycheck, right? And so I'm saying I'm different from Marsha Blackburn, but not only that I'm going to listen to people, but I'm going to fight for all of Tennessee.
And related to that, what steps will you take to cross the aisle to work with Republican members of the Senate if you're elected, and what kind of legislation do you think you could pass together?
So with me working on environmental justice policies that focus on healthy, safe, thriving communities where people live, learn, work, worship and recreate over 30 years, it never became a partisan issue until like now, when it comes to making sure communities are safe when it comes to clean water standards and clean air standards, right? So I've always been able to work across the aisles because environmental justice, we have 68,000 environmental justice communities just across Tennessee alone. And it's more than that across this nation. So there are Republicans that have environmental justice issues in their communities that they're just as concerned about. And so I won't have any problems working across the aisle when it comes to education, environment, and economy that works for everyone.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Marquita Bradshaw, thank you so much. And thank you for driving all the way from Memphis. Thank you.
I was excited about this debate, but I'm not so excited about the other people not showing up. And that's one thing about me that sets me apart, is that if you give me an invitation and if I get it in time, I am coming, because I think it's important to be present for people and to represent the people that you say that you care about.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. The other active candidate in the Democratic primary for U.S. Senate is Gloria Johnson. She received the same invitation that Marquita received, but we did not hear from Gloria Johnson. Also in the Republican primary, Marsha Blackburn, the incumbent, and Tress Whittam both received invitations. We have not heard from either one of those. So if Marsha Blackburn or Tress Whittam is in the audience, raise your hand. Okay, going. Okay, we're going to move on to the U.S. House District 4, and we're going to wind up with the 43rd District State House of Representatives. We got two candidates there in that primary, and the solo candidate in the Republican primary for U.S. House District 4 is Thomas E. Davis. So come on up, Mr. Davis, and just take a seat at any microphone you like, and Richard will tune you in. Leela, we're going to need you one more time, so don't leave us, because we're going to need you to come up and empty out the crystal urn and put in new cards, because we're going to draw for position for that 43rd District State House. So, David, if we're ready to hear from Mr. Davis, 3-minute self-introduction, platform, whatever you want to say.
All right, let's do it. My name is Tom Davis. I am running for the U.S. House of Representatives, Tennessee's 4th Congressional District. So, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for being here and participating in our republic. 4 things up front about me. I am a Christian, I am a conservative, I am a combat veteran who's very concerned about the state and the direction of our nation, and I am a Republican. So I served in the Army from July of '89 until April of '14. I held a variety of duty positions in the Army, including wheeled vehicle operator, training NCO, drill sergeant, squad leader, platoon sergeant. I deployed in support of Operations Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Operation Joint Forge, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operations Enduring Freedom. When I left the Army, I moved home to Arizona, where I served for a short period as a police officer. I moved to Tennessee in 2017, and I currently live in Morrison with my wife Cindy and our youngest child, Nicholas. Since being in Tennessee, I've been a member of VFW Post 5064. I am currently the quartermaster in that post. I have also served on the honor guard there. I am also a member of American Legion Post 173. And I am a current serving member on the safety ministry at First Baptist Church here in McMinnville. So this is a Republican primary, and so I need to set myself apart, which I'm sure we'll hear some questions, but kind of the upfront of it, so I watch my clock, is that if we keep doing what we've been doing, we will keep getting what we've been getting. And what we have been getting is a Congress that is absolutely out of control with our taxpayer dollars. No problems spending it like a bunch of drunken paratroopers. We have a wide open border that we are not serious about closing it, and an absolute assault on our liberties and our rights. In particular, the Second Amendment, but in addition to that, First Amendment violations coming out of the House of Representatives, one of which was a vote that we got from our current representative, and that was H.R. 6090, which would have made it illegal for us as citizens to criticize the Israeli government and would have made passages in the Bible illegal also. So like I said, if we keep doing what we've been doing, we will keep getting what we've been getting, and now is the time for change.
Okay, Thomas E. Davis, just for the record, we did invite the other two candidates, well, one other active candidate, that is the incumbent, Dr. Scott Desjardins. We have not heard from Congressman Desjardins' office, yea or nay. Thomas Davis is the only one of the active candidates who has showed up. Also a question, Victoria Broderick is the lone contestant, so I don't guess you call it a contest, in the Democratic primary for 4th District U.S. House. As she is will presumably be the nominee of the Democrats, she'll be invited when we do part 2 of the Southern Standard WCPI candidate forum and debate. And Mr. Davis, if you're the Republican nominee, you'll get an invitation too. So good to have you. And David, you got some questions for Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Davis, and thank you so much for your service as well. We appreciate you being here in Tennessee. In Tennessee, we have 9 members of the U.S. House of Representatives. All incumbents are running for re-election, including Representative Desjardins. I want you to go, please, a little bit deeper into what distinguishes you from the congressman, why people should select in the Republican primary you over him. He's served since 2010. What makes you different?
Part of that is he's been there since 2010, and I hear, as I've been doing this, about his conservative record. But if you dial down into some of his votes, I'm not super excited about it, which is part of why I'm here doing this. Like I said, that H.R. 6090, and even now currently, well, I'll talk about the National Defense Authorization Act. So last year, he said yes to that. I would have been a no, because in that legislation was funding for DEI and transgender affirming care. And he said, we got a yes vote because of a 5% pay raise for the military. And as a retiree and a veteran, I will tell you, you can keep that $25 or $30 a month that you're gonna get for the problems it's going to create. Any type of belief systems aside, that is an elective procedure. And it has nothing to do with the defense of the nation, and he voted yes for it. Said I would have been a no. And if something goes wrong with that procedure, now we the taxpayers will be on the hook financially for a claim on that procedure, and just so the animosity in there that would have been created. Another thing would be my background in the Army and the leadership that I would take to Washington, D.C., and some of the difficult positions that I served in addition to that, as a police officer. So there's a couple items that would set me apart from what we are currently getting, and that's the status quo.
I want to ask you a little bit about the border. You referenced it a little bit in your introductory remarks. Several polls have shown that border security is the #1 issue for many Americans. Either that, it usually vacillates with the economy as well. But specific to the border, what do you think specifically needs to happen if you are elected? What would you like to see happen from Congress to make the border safer?
So I would like to see our Republicans stand on the line and hold it. That line, we hear always the line in the sand. I want a line in the concrete, because that you're not going to move. And we missed an opportunity in April with, I call it the Saturday sellout, when they came in and voted to send all kinds of money to other places, and our border is wide open. H.R. 2 was already over at the Senate, and all they had to do was say, no, take that up, and then we can deal with the other stuff. Which any of this stuff, part of the issue is with the spending in the nation. And let's secure our borders and cut out all this stuff we're sending overseas. So that we missed those opportunities to secure the border and use the powers within the U.S. House to affect that change.
And specific to here, the community in the 4th District, what are the things that you're hearing most from them about what they want from you if you're elected as a member of Congress?
So some of the things I hear are accessibility is the big one. They're like, we never see this guy, is a comment that I hear a lot. And for me, so I do YouTube content creation. So minimum once a month, I should be doing a video to let everybody know what's going on in Washington, D.C. and how I'm representing, how I'm voting, and the why behind it. Term limits is the other one. For me, 12 years is what I'm saying right here at the outset. I understand that Congressman Desjardins ran initially on term limits, but I've only heard one comment out there about what he has said that term limit is. And it's a lot less than 14 years that he's been in now. Like I said, for me, 12 years is plenty of time. If you haven't done what you're going to do in that time, it's probably time for somebody else to pick it up and move it forward.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Davis. We appreciate your time. Let's give him a round of applause.
Yep. Thomas E. Davis, who is in the Republican primary for U.S. House of Representatives District 4. As I mentioned earlier, Scott Desjardins, the incumbent congressman, was invited, but we did not hear from Mr. Desjardins. Okay, we are down to the grand finale. We've got two candidates for the Republican primary, Republican nomination for the Tennessee House of Representatives, 43rd District. Come on up, Representative Sherrill and Mr. Lewis. Come on up, and we're going to ask, come on up and get a seat. Okay, Leela, empty out the urn and put in a fresh round of cards, and we'll let them draw for position. And again, for our listeners and those following us on Ben Lomand TV, Community Channel 6 on Facebook or YouTube from the Southern Standard, this is the last event in Part 1 of the 2024 Southern Standard WCPI Candidate Forum and Debate. And I'll say right now, before everybody hits the door when we close this out, thank you for being here. We appreciate very much the candidates, but we also appreciate the audience, not just those here at the County Administrative Building where we're originating live, but also those who are following us by electronic means. We do this as a community service, as a voter education exercise, doing our little part to support the American democracy. So,
I have a question, if I can, please.
Sure.
Is there going to be opening questions and closing questions in this time?
We hadn't planned it, but I think right now we're doing so well on our time. Let's say we do 2 minutes. We're going to have an opening statement, which has been 3 minutes. After the questions, what do you say, gentlemen? Are you good for a 2-minute closing statement? Okay. Mr. Lewis, turn that microphone a little bit closer toward you. Yeah, there you go, if you would. And Leela, do we have the new cards in the urn? All done? Okay. Before we start, gentlemen, or have you already drawn?
No.
Okay. Stand up, draw a card, open it up, and the one with the lower number goes first. They're numbered 1 through 4. Okay. Okay. And
also, Mr. Bill, I've been asked by someone in the audience back there that they said the reason that Dr. Scott Desjardins was not here tonight because he's in Washington. I
okay.
was asked.
Well, if he's on duty, okay, we understand that. Well, sometimes incumbency is a benefit, but sometimes it can be maybe a detriment. So if doing his duty is keeping him from our forum, that's just the way it works. So, okay, gentlemen, what kind of numbers did you come up with? You've got one? Well, you don't even have to open your card, Mr. Lewis. We'll go to Paul Sherrill first. So are you ready, David?
I'm all ready,
We're going to
Bill.
start
Thank
with
you.
those three-minute opening statements. And Seth, give Representative Sherrill his 3 minutes here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We do always want to say appreciate all that y'all do to put this program on. It is a great program for Warren County and White County and the 43rd District. Used to be Grundy County, Warren, and about 2/3 of Warren and all White, but now they've redistricted and now it's all Warren and all White. So we do want to thank you very much for this. You know, first of all, I just want to praise the good Lord above. He's the one that has made this happen for me in my life to be elected as state representative in the 43rd District. I was first elected in 2016 and then re-elected in 2018, 2020, and 2022. And here we are in 2024 trying to get re-elected. And I just can't say enough to say thank you to Warren County and thank you to White County for allowing me to serve. Thank you for electing me, and I hope and pray that we can do things in a good way to help in the 43rd District and as we go to Nashville and represent you. I am a Republican and very thankful to be one that, and I was first elected in 2016, and then in 2018, my colleagues chose to elect me to be the floor leader to serve in our House in the state of Tennessee, and I've been continue to be elected as the floor leader to serve in our committee. So I'm trying my best to represent, and I feel good that my colleagues are behind me by doing things like this. I serve on 2 different committees. I serve on transportation, I serve on health, and very good committees to serve on. So you think about things like that. So first I want to tell you that after I was elected in 2016, and then in 2018, in 2016, 2017, I carried 2 bills, one for the state and then one I carried for our volunteer firemen and our volunteer rescue squad. And this right here is showing you that we have people out here that works for us and do not get paid for anything for what they do for us in the state of Tennessee. So we want to support these folks like this, volunteer fire departments, our volunteer rescue squad, and that was my first bill, that they get a license plate at no charge, other than they have to pay the wheel tax. And so that is something that we've been working on since I've been elected. We are co-sponsors of Second Amendment. We definitely support our Second Amendment. You know, we know that the gun is not the problem. We have people out here that's caused a lot of problems with guns, and that's mentally sick people. And we hope that we can continue to support our Second Amendment. I am endorsed by the NRA, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much, Representative. Let's go to Mr. Lewis, and then we'll come to Mr. McCormick. Sure. Mr. Lewis, you have your 3 minutes.
Sure. Well, my name is Tim Lewis. I have lived in Warren County now for 24 years. I was led to run after watching, especially after watching what happened during COVID and seeing how the government was shut down by our governor, and nothing was done about it by our representatives in the State House. So I felt then that I should probably, everybody wants to talk about things they would do or they could do, but nobody wants to run. And I'm just a regular blue-collar guy. I work 40 hours a week, every week. I work in Sparta, and I'm just out here trying to make a difference.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McCormick.
Yes. And I apologize for being late here. I had a previous engagement I couldn't get out of, but I'm Robert McCormick. I've been a long-time business, county commissioner, I serve on several boards and committees. I've served on the Foster Care Review Board under Judge Meadows. Services White and Warren County. I serve on the Upper Cumberland Home Builders Association, 2 years as president. I've served on 911 communications for close to 12 years, 6 years as chairman. I've served on Tri-County Railroad Authority. We manage the short line that runs down from Tullahoma all the way into Sparta. It services Bridgestone, one of the biggest customers on the short line rail system. And soon it will service McNeil Steel coming in. And we helped work together to secure a grant, $1 million grant, to put that railroad spur in for McNeil Steel. So I've always just served community. I've been out there in the community with the public. You know, it's hard to serve a community if you don't know your community, and that's been my strength, is knowing our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a few questions for the candidates. I'll start with Mr. Lewis and Mr. McCormick, then Representative Sherrill. And the first question is, what are the biggest issues you're hearing from Warren and White County voters entering this year's election, and what are your plans to work towards solving those issues? Mr. Lewis.
One of the biggest issues that I've found in talking to several hundred people here in Warren County alone is illegal immigration. They're worried about crime, and they're worried about how the state actually doesn't seem to care about it. We have a supermajority in the House of Representatives right now, and we can't get any real preventative measures passed. I mean, we've got a couple of reactionary bills passed, but nothing that really stops illegal immigration coming into the state. I mean, it's after the fact. They either get more time for crimes committed, or they get, or they just have to. They're reported to the state, but nothing happens. So, I think that one of my biggest things is trying to stop illegal immigration into the state of Tennessee.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCormick. What are you hearing from the constituents around here?
Well, the main thing that's on most people's mind is these illegal drugs coming into our counties. And by serving on the Foster Review Board, I see it firsthand of the families this is damaging. It's not just addicts that are getting on these drugs. And in Warren and White County alone, we've got close to 200 children in state custody. And Judge Moore and I have spoke about this together and talked about solutions. And I know they recently had a big bust and arrested several of these criminals. And one of the problems we've had in the past is this revolving door on these repeat offenders. They're arrested one day, 2 days later, they're back on the street and back in business, and then they may have a court date a month later. So that we've made strides on that, but there's a lot more to do on the drugs.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCormick. Representative Sherrill, what are the things you're hearing most from the constituents here in the 43rd District?
Well, there is a number of different issues that I hear from folks here in Warren County and White County that brings to, we do have a problem with, one big thing is education. What can we do more to educate our children? What can we do to make our education better? That's something I hear from different ones, and I know this will be another top issue that when we go back into session next year, what are we going to do about helping our children to be educated good? That's one thing we hear about. We hear about illegal immigration that's talked about. It is a major problem, what we're seeing happening at our border. Unless we get a change in our presidential time in November, we're going to continue to have illegal immigration. We've got to do something in the federal level to try to stop that, because we've got military people that's here from Tennessee that are down there trying to help keep these people from coming in there, but the one that's sitting in the president's seat says it's okay for them to come in there, so how do we stop it? And then we got law enforcement, that we need to take care of our law enforcement, so we did pass legislation to make it a felony, so if you assault a police officer today it's a Class F felony, I believe it is, or Class, let me tell you, Class E felony. It was a misdemeanor, so we've got to take care of our law enforcement. And then our farmland, we don't want these foreign countries that are taking over our farmland. So we've got things like that. I mean, there's just on and on and on things that we need to do. School safety is a major issue. We want to make sure that we protect our children. And we are trying our best to put money into our school systems to try to have these resource officers to take care of our children, make sure they're safe. We're doing that. I mean, there's just on and on and on. We're investing money in different departments to try to think makes better. People call me all the time about, well, can we do something about our roads and make them better, you know, safer? You know, we're trying to put money into that. So Tennessee is a great state to live in. Yes, we do have some issues. And what can we do to make it better? It's going to take time. Yes, our economy is not as flourishing as much as it was. Our budget was down about $10 billion this last time than it was year before because of the revenue not coming in. So there's just a lot of different issues that we hear from people, and hopefully we can make them better.
Thank you very much. Next question, we'll start with Mr. McCormick, then Representative Sherrill, and then Mr. Lewis. And this has to do with education. One of Governor Lee's most important initiatives, the Education Freedom Act, did not pass in this legislative session. Governor Lee said today at the Nashville Rotary Club that he planned to bring it back next year. What is your opinion of this legislation? Should it pass or not? And what would you like to tell the governor about your feelings? So, Mr. McCormick.
Sure. Thank you for a question, and that's on a lot of people's minds. This voucher program, you know, the reason it failed is it's going to hurt small counties, public schools. There wasn't enough safeguards. You know, you take $7,000 a child out of the county budget, and so education's going to run low. So when money gets short on education, they're coming to the county. So the county's going to have to raise your property taxes to offset it. And, you know, we need to do more to help our public schools. Louisiana just passed a bill to bring prayer back into school in Louisiana. That was a big step forward. And so I think we can make strides to work with the teachers and the parents for the betterment of our public schools. But now I am for parents' rights. Parents should be able to choose if they want to send their children to private school or if they want to homeschool them.
Thank you very much. Representative Sherrill, for you, you had a front row seat to this, the Education Freedom Act. What was your position on it? And if it's brought back next session, what's going to be your thoughts on that?
Well, to my understanding and what I'm hearing, yes, it will be brought back. Governor Lee will bring it back. What happened in this time in the session was that the governor had a version that he had, the Senate had a version, and the House had a version. So all three could not come together with one version for everybody to vote on. So that was a major problem. So what do we hear in this time of what's going on? And I don't serve on education, so I never did have the opportunity to even vote on it. So that's one thing. So here's a problem with what I was hearing in this time is House Bill 1183, I believe that in the House side, I don't remember the Senate number on it. But here's a problem with the school vouchers that Governor Lee has brought out. If this money, if it were to be appropriated, so for instance that you wanted to have a LGBTQ school, or Bill wanted to have a Muslim school, well, they would have the right of getting this money as well as anybody else would. So you don't want it, he don't want it, and I don't want it. We don't want our money going to any kind of LGBTQ school or a Muslim school. So it was a bad thing to be brought about. So I look for him to bring it back next year. I mean, it's done talk, he'll bring it back next year, but it's not a good thing the way that they was proposing it. So let's hope that if they do bring it back, they sure to bring up something better than what they did in this past session.
Thank you very much, Representative. Mr. Lewis.
I believe that it shouldn't be brought back at all. The voucher system is flawed. It hurts small schools. It hurts county schools. It's just not a good, it's not a good program.
Thank you very much. And Bill, do we have time for one more question?
We do. We're doing quite well on time this evening. We're going to be out of here before 8 o'clock, which will be a new land speed record for these candidate forums.
Well, very good. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, we'll start with the Representative Sherrill, then Mr. Lewis and Mr. McCormick before the closing statements. One of the things that the governor mentioned was healthcare. We have, Tennessee has the second most rural hospital closures in the country after Texas. And the question is, what needs to be done to ensure that people in rural communities especially have the healthcare that they need if they get sick or need an operation? What are some of your ideas you have to make sure that their needs are taken care of? Representative Sherrill.
Thank you. We are blessed in Warren County and White County to have two good hospitals. Ascension St. Thomas is very good hospitals. They do a great job for the people in our area, the district, and we want to make sure that we take care of these two hospitals, and I know there's others, but we need to make sure we take care of them. So we have some of the larger corporations that would like to come in and give them competition, and it would hurt them, and it would hurt our people here in Warren County and White County. So we want to make sure that we take care of our local hospital here in Warren County and White County so that people, and here's the thing that people maybe not realize is that companies that want to come to your area, that's one thing that they look at. If they don't have a good hospital for their employees to come to close by, they're not interested in coming. So we're very blessed, we're very thankful that we have the Ascension St. Thomas here in Warren County and White County. So I'm gonna try my best, as I've been asked, to support these two hospitals as much as I can and not support some of these large organizations that wants to come in and give them competition.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lewis.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. What are your thoughts on what needs to be done to support the healthcare system, especially in rural areas where you're seeing some hospital closures or at least limited care opportunities?
Well, I believe that, like Representative Sherrill said, we're lucky, very lucky here in Warren County and White County. But we should have maybe smaller satellite offices like us. We need to get the care to the people if the people can't make it to the care, to the care. So I would suggest like smaller surgery centers located in rural areas that can't reach Warren County in a case of an emergency.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCormick.
Yes, I think you're talking about people like Salina. They just lost their hospital not too long ago. And so you've got, they're in a remote area and there's people far out there that it's a long way to a hospital. It's a long ambulance ride to Livingston or somewhere like that. So you take counties like Grundy County and a few others, they struggle on their health care, and they do need some kind of help to get their hospitals, at least a small, minute hospital back online. And so that is a problem out here in the rural area. But we are fortunate here to have Ascension St. Thomas in White and Warren both. That is a blessing.
Thank you very much. We've come to the closing statements now.
Yes, let's do closing statements, 2 minutes each. And what order are we going in?
I believe Mr. McCormick, Mr. Lewis, and Representative Sherrill.
Okay. Tim Lewis.
Mr. McCormick.
Oh, Mr.
Okay.
McCormick, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, I'm glad to be here tonight. Sorry again for being a little bit late. I did have a prior engagement, and when I make a promise, I keep a promise. So my closing statement is, I've been out here in the community. I've been talking with people. I've been part of all different boards and committees, and I see people from day to day and work with people, work with the small problems, and you have to know a community to be able to serve the community, and you have to have the respect of the people helping you. Knowing people is one thing, but if they don't respect you, they're not going to work with you to get anything done. So I hold a high regard in that aspect. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCormick. Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for watching on TV and for everybody here for putting this on. I would like to just say that I'm really not happy with the way we've been represented in the last 8 years. It hasn't all been bad, but there have been several instances where things could have been different. I believe that we as a district need somebody who will take care of the needs of the district and not corporate donors. And I've completely financed my entire run all by myself. I haven't taken any money, no donations, no anything like that. So I'd just like to thank everybody who has stopped and given me support, and just thank you and keep it coming.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Representative Sherrill, your closing remarks.
Thank you very much. This is a very important time to do this. I do appreciate it very much. It's good. It's educational to try to get people more knowledge about how the candidates do stand for, and I appreciate you very much. You know, I've tried to, since I've been elected, I've been asked, you know, there's things like our Tennessee state parks are very valuable to us in the state of Tennessee. A lot of people come in here because of our state parks. And they spend their money, and that's good for us in the district and in the counties and in the state. So we're working on Scottsguff Wilderness State Park in White County, and hopefully it'll be open one of these days. It takes time. And in here in Warren County, we've got the Cardinal Mountain, which is opening up here one of these days. Money's been appropriated for this, so we're hoping that that will come. So just like today, I was called from local place here in Warren County, our senior citizens facility. Very important for our seniors. You know, and I've been asked to write letters in support for them to get funding. We do things like this. We try our best to protect our hospital because we know how important it is to our businesses. You know, we in Tennessee are in great shape. Financially, we're in good shape. So let's just keep on going like we are, but yes, there is improvements. We want to do things like this to make it better for us. You know, early voting is coming up here July the 12th. Our primary's the 1st of August. I mean, it's here upon us. I always try my best to let people know how they can contact me. Our office in Nashville is 615-741-1963. Our home number's in the book, 931-935-8488. We always try to be open to people, and always we do want to ask people for their prayer, support, and vote. And thank you very much for electing me as your state representative in the 43rd District.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Tim Lewis, Robert McCormick, and Paul Sherrill, the incumbent, all in the Republican primary for 43rd District State House of Representatives. David, we're bringing it in under 2 hours.
Well, excellent, Bill. Thank you. Great job for you, and thank you for your patience here with me and with the Tennessee traffic. I'm glad I could spend at least 90 minutes with you here today.
Well, we're glad to have David. I figure anybody that could referee 4 rounds of the Nashville mayoral contest is up for any kind of challenge. But I got to commend the people of Nashville. I think Mayor Freddie O'Connell is, right now, seems like he's got a pretty steady hand on the helm. So, and again, thank you all. We appreciate especially our live audience here at the Warren County Administrative Building, our viewers on BLTV, the Facebook and YouTube services from the Southern Standard and BLTV. Thank you all so much. And a big shout out to the Southern Standard, our partner in doing these candid forums and debates since the year 2020. It's been interesting.
Well, thank you for your great job, Bill, both here in the neutral zone and also on the candidate desk.
Okay.
We appreciate you, and I'm so grateful to the people of McMinnville who've been so generous and hospitable in my visits here before. Thank you.
Okay, and safe travels to you, David. I think you're headed out to some event in Los Angeles.
I am, just a few days, yes.
Okay, well, wish you the best. And again, thank you all. You've been in tune with 91.3 FM. McMinnville's public radio station, the nonpartisan, nonprofit public broadcaster, 91.3. owned and operated in the public interest by the Warren County Education Foundation. For WCPI and for the whole crew, Richard E. Myers, our broadcast engineer this evening, Boyd Ramsey, our general manager and CEO, and Chuck Haston, our network genius, who helps put it all together. So thank you, and we're sending you back to the WCPI studios.
Well done, Bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you.